Bienvenue tout le monde, bienvenue. Non, moi c'est Raïssa Joseph, moi c'est directeur pour Place Recherche Folklore. Welcome everyone, my name is Raïssa Joseph and I am the executive director of the Monsignor Patrick Anthony Folk Research Center. Aujourd'hui, nous ici pour célébrer l'artiste cette ici qui a fait une grande contribution au développement. We are here to celebrate the work of artists and to support their continued development here with the launch of a new book released by Mr. John Robert Lee, Ikons, New and Selected Poems. To officially begin our program, we stand for the national anthem of Saint Lucian, which will be played by the band Mahanaim. Nous debout pour chanson nationale cette ici. Pourquoi assise, tout bagay nous savons nous pour remercier Dieu pour tout ça que j'ai fait et pour aider nous bienvenue Monsignor Patrick Anthony.
Bonsoir tout le monde.
Bonsoir.
Good night everybody. Avant de commencer, nous savons nous y a une petite tristesse parmi nous, puisque demain Papa Raïssa a été oui. Quoi est important pour nous ça. Prends un petit moment de silence pour changer, pour prier des balis et puis pour nous supporter Raïssa et puis famille en tribulation ça là. On prend un petit moment de silence. Let's spend a moment of silence in honor of Raïssa's father who's passed. Eternal rest grant unto him, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon him. May he rest in peace. May his soul and the souls of all the faithful departed, the mercy of God, rest in peace. Au nom du Père, du Fils et du Saint-Esprit, ainsi soit-il. Papa mon Dieu, on souhaite encore merci ou mener nous ici ensemble. Merci au Papa pour Saint Lucian. Merci pour pays nous, pour peuple nous, pour culture nous, pour tradition nous. Papa nous merci aussi pour cher aux abanons. And checking compassion pour frères nous excellents. Heavenly Father, we thank you for our beautiful country, for our people. We thank you for giving us people with a heart of mercy and compassion for each other. And tonight as we gather to reflect upon the need to show mercy, particularly towards those creative agents, those artists, those musicians, those creative people in our community, Lord God. We thank you for giving us that sense of caring for them. So that our book Icon that we're launching, the profit from which will go towards helping the artists, Lord God, will be a sign of our care and concern for our brothers and sisters who have pushed our identity in this nation. Papa, nous remercions, Papa. Et puis, on soit quand nous venons ensemble, nous avons pour ouverture tout Saint-Lucien, pour nous sentir compassion pour ces gens qui ont aidé nous. C'est mon qui a poussé l'identité noire. C'est mon qui a talent, qui a servi talent pour pousser Saint-Lucie. Papa, nous contents, les qui ont amusé nous. Mais les malades, les en souffrance, nous avons oublié. Au soir, nous venons ensemble pour montrer, nous ne pas oublier. C'est ça qui fait nous l'occasion ça là. Puisque nous voulons aider, nous voulons longer le même bail, papa. Comme tout le monde qui attend la prière à la mode, au soir. Pour nous pour ces frères nous excellents. qui ça fait une contribution en développement qu'il tient cette ici. C'est eux qui a changé au soir, c'est pour eux nous venir ensemble. Papa, bénis yo et puis bénis nous. Et puis bénis au soir, l'occasion nous au soir. Qu'a fait prier ça par un nom, en nom de Saint Jésus-Christ, en l'union du Saint-Esprit, ainsi soit-il, au nom du Père et du Fils et du Saint-Esprit, ainsi soit-il.
Merci à pile, Papa. Tout le monde s'assise. You may be seated. Je voulais bienvenue tout le monde ici à Oswea, expressément, gouverneur général émérita d'Impolette Louisi, gouverneur général emeritus d'Impolette Louisi, secrétaire général pour Commission nationale pour cette ici pour UNESCO, Master Symphorium, Secretary General for the Saint Lucian National Commission for UNESCO, Honorable Monsignor Baptiste, ministre pour Santé à cette ici, the Honorable Monsignor Baptiste, Minister for Health and Wellness in Saint Lucia, Honorable Dr. Kenny Anthony, Member Parliament pour Sud VA4, the Honorable Dr. Kenny Anthony, the Honorable Representative for VA4 South, and also former Prime Minister of Saint Lucia, Miss Julie Bonnet, Representative for Events Saint Lucia, members of the board of the FRC, the Venerable Archdeacon Glasgow, qui a représenté l'Église anglaise à Saint-Nicy, the Anglican Church in Saint Lucia, members of Mahanaim, other specially invited guests, Ms. Junior Frederick of the Cultural Development Foundation, and all other persons who are viewing, especially at home via our live stream, our Facebook page and television, our partners in particular who have made this day possible, and I would like to pinpoint as well in a special way Mr. Costello Michel of Tiles Plus, who has given support to this book launch, in addition to a number of other partners, Sir Place Business à Saint-Nicy, Kilti et puis Koyati, Passaviv. Et puis on souhaite, nous pas ici pour seulement célébrer un livre neuf. Et c'est l'occasion pour nous voir Koyati et puis les autres ni place spéciale à Saint-Nicy. Et moi ça, chaque nous, là nous catcher nous réfléchir sur la vie nous, sans musique, sans les arts, nous ni la vie nous kind of shy twisters. Without the arts, without creativity, our lives would be a lot less joyful, a lot less meaningful. And it was Arthur Lewis who said that a country without the arts is like a cultural desert. And very often we think about the arts, but not the creators of art, like Mamai Lakai, who make Saint Lucian life so memorable, who are the melody of our heartbeats today. And today's celebration is an honor for us. Qu'on nous célébrer cette année, organisation, un mouvement pour développement culturel et puis nation avec Pep Saint-Nicy, aussi pour célébrer Nobel Laureate Festival. Et puis encore nous savons qu'au pays nous célébrer 45 l'année qu'au pays indépendant. Avec sans créole, sans culture, sans koyati, sans les arts nous pas Pep. Without the arts, without the culture, we are not a country or a nation. And so we come to celebrate, we come to reconfirm our commitment to development in Saint Lucia, which is rooted in people, and the FRC continues to play its role tonight in partnership with our brothers and friends like John Robert Lee and all of you who are here to celebrate with us and to participate. And so it's my pleasure to welcome you here once again. I want to, at this time, welcome a very distinguished member of our audience today, who has his own foundations in the FRC, who currently serves as a member of government, ensuring national development, the Honorable Moses Mushaja Baptiste, Minister for Health and Wellness, Anube Vini.
Thank you very much. Bonsoir tout le monde. Let me say thank you very much to Executive Director of the Monsignor Patrick Anthony Folk Research Center, Sister Raisa Joseph. Very good evening to a very special person, Monsignor Patrick Joseph himself. Sorry. Monsignor Patrick Anthony. I want to greet Dame Paulette Louisy, Governor General Emerita, Honorable Dr. Kenny Anthony, former Prime Minister and also Parliamentary Representative for VA4 South, the Archdeacon Glasgow, representative of UNESCO. Also want to greet Brother Robert Lee himself. And let us give Brother Robert Lee a round of applause for his work. Brother Ember Charles was the chairman of the FRC. All other artists, invited guests, brothers and sisters, good evening. I was asked by Brother Embert Charles and the FRC family to speak for a few minutes on the major contributions of the Monsignor Patrick Anthony Folk Research Center to the cultural, educational, and social life of Saint Lucia. And I asked myself, how can I speak of 50 years of development in just a few minutes? I wish to say to you that tonight I will spend just a few minutes to look at my own life and the development of the Folk Research Center, and I will try my very best to connect the experiences of my life with the development of the Monsignor Patrick Folk Research Center and the importance of it in the development of Saint Lucia. I will take a few minutes to share with you how the Folk Research Center developed my life. And there are some of you sitting here this evening, like Gaspar and so on. I'm sure you will recognize some of the experiences. But again, I want to thank all of you, brothers and sisters, for this opportunity just to share another moment of consciousness building, a moment of celebration, and a moment of love. I really appreciate this warmth of brotherly and sisterly love, which can be felt throughout the room tonight. And I'm humbled by the occasion. Thanks to the Holy Spirit for giving me another opportunity to share in the work of pioneers, to live through a period of transformation in the ways we looked at ourselves as a people. And I'm very fortunate to know Paba, as we affectionately know Monsignor Patrick Anthony, and so many of his disciples, those who consolidated the ideas which crystallized into the Folk Research Center. While the contributions of the Folk Research Center, like a smooth volcanic rock which is dropped in the middle of a bassin, continue to create waves throughout the generations and touching every community. For me, it is the impact of the FRC's work on our consciousness that impresses me most. Can I take you through a very brief journey, a story of self-doubt, humiliation, belief, a story of deep faith and triumph? Can I sing a testimony loudly, a testimony of social cohesion, of survival, and of the Saint Lucian identity? I'm a child of the late 60s, and I was only 6 years old when the FRC was formed. My grandmother, Madolin, or Ikawis, was from Belleville in VA4. She was a chanteuse in the L'Espérance Laureate group, the Belleville Laureate group. My grandmother's brother, Ramopoleon, who is still alive today, is a cultural folk hero and influenced many musicians within our communities, even up to today. Music, festivals, theater, and a deep sense of belonging to a cause, to be the best lawas, the best farmer, the best dancer, the best in everything throughout the whole community. And like many Saint Lucians, we knew then we were not favored. We were thought of as uneducated folks in the country. We were never going to reach the heights of leadership in the country or in anything for that matter. To a 6-year-old child in 1973, you are absorbed into the drama and the fun, gaining valuable social skills along the way, drinking from the subconscious power mix of cooperation, respect, hard work, and valuing. Who were we? Little did we know then, at the time, that the elders probably themselves did not know that consciously or unconsciously or subconsciously, they were really building the community and preparing us for a defense of us, for a defense of St. Lucians. And therefore, in the late 70s and early 80s, when we visited relatives all around Vieux Fort, my father's people from Grace, across the river, Maola, and every time school closed for what we call vacation, I would drop my bag and rush to meet my grandmother, because at the time, the stories of Jab and the spirit of the Lauvier and the Bassin and the soul of the forest and the names of the Bois Canoe and Bois Poirier and the nutrition of Poitou and Boitan, Quibiche and Bac and Zodomé. Little did I know then that the value of traditional knowledge and the lessons for life, whether they were being imparted deliberately or subconsciously, would guide our lives. And later on at the Vieux Fort Secondary School, we realized that the need for secondary education as a means to sharpen your tools for contest in the St. Lucian arena of life, it became very obvious that we had to sharpen our tools. We needed secondary education to survive in a society which you started to see big with open eyes, the disparity in the society, the limited opportunities for upward mobility. There were few for many of us. The continued discrimination based on which part of St. Lucia you came from, the broken language you spoke, although most of those who are looking down on us have never spoken the Queen's or King's English even up to now. And the same can be said of communities or for communities or about communities all around St. Lucia, even in Castries. Yeah, at the time, in secondary school, we became fully aware. We were confused. I was confused. I came from a tradition of excellence, singing, spoken word in Creole, local celebrity chefs of peas and sem and bouillon and stories of survival. But little did we know that we were really being prepared. Don't even talk about what would happen to us with mass media and television and so on. We did not know then that in the middle of all the mixture in the society, the different backgrounds, the persuasions and influences, we did not know then that we were being prepared for development and building of the society and consciousness. We thought we were poor, and we thought we were outcasts. When we were exposed to secondary education and we were exposed to the whole society, then we met boots and straw. And at secondary school in Vieux Fort, we met Kendall, Hippolyte Straw, and we met Boots. And Boots and Kendall started, telling us the stories of the might of our people and our struggles and what we can do, whether you're from Vieux Fort, Castries, or wherever you come from, and you can use theater. And then the same Boots and Kendall and them exposed us to Teachers Union and then to the FRC. So from a very young age, we were influenced by people who were influenced by Paba and the disciples. And yes, all of you call me Musa, but you know where Musa came from? Odali's Choice, the play. I played the part of Musa, the third soldier in Odali's Choice, directed by Kennedy Booth Samuel in Form 4 of Vieux Fort Senior Secondary School. And the name has never left me. This is how I got the name Musa. So the theater, the arts, the drama, and the FRC And our experiences then taught us to participate in research. And FRC taught us that research didn't mean some big person from university or from somewhere had to come down to do research, and we had the skills. As long as we did it in the right way, in the scientific way, we had the skills to build our own knowledge, and we had the skills to help to develop our Creole dictionary, and we participated in the research throughout Saint Lucia. And while the founders of FRC in 1973 developed the philosophy and the consciousness, those who are developing, who came after, continued to develop our communities and our societies. The fight for Creole in school, Mouvement Creole, Banzil Creole, Mo Creole, our Creole newspaper, and I can never forget Dame Paulette Louisi at those meetings, long time ago in Vieux-Fort, and the deceased Yves Renard and so many others. And people ask, what is this in development? Why is this important? Why do we need to ensure that Creole becomes part of our development? What does that have to do with economics and survival? And we were taught by FRC that, of course, is the very essence of economics and survival. It's the very cooperation within the communities, working to develop skills and building skills, is the very essence of economic development. And we don't have the time tonight to go into the work of Sir Arthur Lewis and his surplus labor and unskilled labor and how he felt you could develop this and invite skills and build skills and how it connects to our culture. We don't have time. But the FRC went into the Calypso and researched on the Rastafari movement. And what does that have to do with development? And what does it have to do with knowledge and culture? We don't have time tonight to shout out the influence of Rastafari on our societies in the Caribbean. But the FRC was the crucible, or is the crucible, continues to be the crucible of that kind of work. The foundations of development of our society. Research, cultural development, popular theater, Tiat Pepla. And we developed our groups throughout St. Lucia. Tabu Mele and the drumming. And the little joke you hear, they say to you, Musa is a minister of government, all he can do is play taboo. You know the little politics, I love it. Because when they say that, I play more taboo on them. You know? I mean, all these little jokes. But the essence of the work of the FRC throughout the communities and how we work together to develop theater for education, theater for cultural expression, work on the environment and awareness, and using cultural art forms to educate. That is the role of the FRC, the work of the FRC in the development of our country. And the Creole started bursting through. And we are fortunate to have Dame Paulette Louisi for still tonight. In Parliament, the throne speeches, in Creole. And they're freaking out in the Parliament when she drops certain lyrics in Creole and people wondering about Diego Sassoti. And they're searching for the dictionaries. But you can't find the English equivalent for a lot of them phrases in Creole. So there is the essence of development. And social scientists who study social capital and all the theories about social capital and talking about cohesion and the glue of the society, what keeps societies together, can be found in the work of the FRC. And so for me, the work of the FRC in the development of the country speaks to me in a way that is very personal. Very personal. I can speak of so many things we developed because of the FRC, whether it be in Vieux-Fort with Tabu Mele and education and work recordings and how we changed the lives of so many young people, whether it be in Saint Lucia, in Guadeloupe, in Martinique, or throughout the Caribbean, because of FRC. I can speak of publications, poetry, and how people like Boots and Kendall and Paba and so many, Embert and so on, taught us that there is rhythm and soul in expression, and how you can use it to better your life. I can speak so much about this, and I'm very passionate about it. Because our FRC est important pour développement pays. FRC is important for the development of the country, just as arts. Just as the arts, we can't do without the glue that keeps the society together. The glue in building social capital, we can't do without it. I leave it to you and to the researchers and so on to maybe ask the question, can we, as cultural activists, find a way to bring this glue to bear on the problems and troubles of our society today? At a time when you have Facebook and Twitter and so on, I see the efforts of the FRC. I see them riding the tidal waves of this information technology revolution and still penetrating through the information technology revolution, changing the work and bringing it to a different audience, different recipients for development. And I want us to give the executive director and those who are sacrificing to keep the FRC going a round of applause for this. I love the connection with the information technology. And so I say to you, I'm part of this dream to see the arts, the cohesion, get into the fabric of the workings of the society and the workings of the formal managers of the society, whether it be governments or agencies. And that's a fight that is on. And I know some of you understand. It's a fight that is on because many people do not understand and do not value the contribution of the role of the arts in tying up and defaufiling the society, the problems in the society, in teaching people empathy, the things you can't just learn from the books, empathy and love and sharing and caring for people. That's what the FRC contributes to the society. Among all the other things, the research, the documents and the publications, there is a belly inside of these things. So I congratulate Brother Robert Lee, once again contributing to the development of the work, his lifelong work, and all the other poets and artists who are here tonight. I congratulate you and encourage you to continue. Let's not drop. And palager. À nous continuer. Pour moi-même, moi just commencé. Moi just commencé. One of the best gifts I had, I know she'll not be pleased, but one of the best gifts I've ever had in my life. This year, for my birthday, my daughter and my wife decided to give me a present. So I say, but what kind of present is that? A little box and thing. And when I opened it, it was a drum all the way from Africa, directly from Africa. And let me tell you something. You can ask her, I polish this thing. I don't want nobody to touch it. I don't, I practice my rhythms, try to get my poems going again. I just love it. And people don't understand sometimes how we artists love it. And we help tie things in the society that a lot of people try to understand but can't understand why and how we do it. So let's keep moving. Let's have it for Brother Robert Lee once again. Thanks very much.
Merci. Ou jadi a chay Melanie yon de bagay me vle di. Avant me bienvenir les autres moun. Me vle we Odalis choice pour moi, ouais, Moussa, qu'on acteur, moi, je voulais jouer ça là. Thank you very much for your vulnerability, your authenticity in telling an important story of connecting not just an organization, but a movement in development of the full person. And for us at the FRC, it has always been about the Saint Lucian people, who we are now and who we want to become. And so your presentation is a very important one in showing us that we have a purpose beyond being a physical structure, in touching people and their lives, and the work that you do as a full person, not just as a minister, but at the core of who you are at your essence. And we are grateful for your presentation today. Encore nous savons qu'il y a une assistance, qu'il y a une identité, qu'on citoyen et pour nous répondre aux questions qui a venu toute la vie nous. Qui nous est? And every time we ask ourselves this question, a year from now it might not be the same, but culture is still that form, that force that continues to force it. And you ask yourself, what kind of culture is shaping you right now? And we at the FRC want to be part of the positive cultural development of Saint Lucia, and for us to be at the center of the movement and development. It's my pleasure to also recognize in our midst Honorable it's Dr. Ken Pierre, a former executive director himself, and also Mrs. Ramona Wynn, the executive director of the Cultural Development Foundation. At this time, I would love to welcome back to speak and give brief remarks our founder, Monsignor Patrick Anthony. Anubevini.
Well, Musa, I think you have really launched us on our appeal for our new home at Mount Pleasant. Because, you know, we have to raise 8 million. The artist has given us the artist impression, and the architectural drawings are there. We're ready to go. And I think that that kind of trust you've given there, if we can put that fire in the cabinet. And I see Honorable Kenny Anthony, who was along with Papo. They did the first study of FRC as an institution to see how we can go and get international funding. It was done by the young Kenny Anthony and Papo at that time. And so we can put some more fire, because Kenny's in the cabinet too. You know? And we know we have a lot of friends. We have a lot of friends. And the work of FRC, as Musa has indicated, and all of us who are involved know, it's so important. Culture. I mean, I'm still surprised that people experience it, but they don't understand the experience. Let me illustrate what I mean. Shama Joseph, a Guyanese space bowler, has done something to the Caribbean today. The man have no money, no weapons, but through sports, through culture, he has been able to lift a whole region up. Everybody, and not only the Caribbean, but the diaspora, Caribbean people all over the world, feeling on a high. Boy, Shama Joseph, Masha Bossi, the power of culture. That's just one example. Power of culture. And I always go back to Derek, who always said, you know, the Greek archipelago, remember them? They were not the greatest armies. The Spartans were beating them up and so forth. They didn't have the wealth. But what they had the power of Greek culture. And so Greek culture did what? It conquered Rome, it conquered everybody. Up to today, Greek culture is a phenomenon in world history. A few people, few islands in the Greek archipelago. Same thing they're saying. We in the Caribbean understand the power of culture. And when you understand the power of culture, you'll come to understand what development is all about. That was just a little aside. Musa put me over that. A few days ago, I addressed the reef-laying ceremony at the Mon. And I spoke of the Mon being a mountain where rivulets of blood flowed. We know the history of the Mon, where the battles between France and England took place, where so many people died. For what? Because of Saint Lucia. They want to get Saint Lucia. Because Saint Lucia is important, the Caribbean are important. Because these islands were the bedrock for the development of Europe. As Hilary Beckles told us, how Europe underdeveloped Africa, how Britain underdeveloped the Caribbean. These battles there were to get us, get our nation, get our islands, because they realized the value of our islands. And so we have Mont Fortune. But it's a mountain of blood. And now we have transformed Mont Fortune to become a mountain of excellence where our young people, this fantastic vision of somewhere like Hunter Francois, can transform those buildings into an edifice of excellence in education. So I spoke about that at the reef-laying ceremony. But we were calling for the history for the cemetery to become a hero's cemetery and so forth. But that is really for dead people. Yeah, you bury the dead. So we honor them, we bury them. But they're dead. They're dead already. They're dead and gone. Today, our concern, which brings us here tonight, it's not those who are dead, those who are dying, those who are still alive. Those who have spent their energies, their talents, their giftedness to promote the development of this country, to bring so much joy and satisfaction to this country, who have contributed so much. And now they're forgotten. They're forgotten. Amel Matrin has just returned home from OKU. Amel Matrin. You know who Amel Matrin is? You don't know who Amel? Amel Matrin is a lady who was the principal of the school at Monrepo, who invited FRC to come and have its first Journée Creole in Monrepo, at which Cécenne was declared Queen of Folk for Saint Lucia. Amel Matrin. She has just returned from OKU, back to her home in Monrepo, sick, in need. Amel Matrin? No. And Amel is a symbol of so many who have made such vital contributions to the development of culture, the national development, in their own way, and who today are forgotten. They are forgotten. And this is why Bert and Robbie and myself, because of our relationship with some of these artists, felt that, look, we have to do something. We have to do something. As some of you may know, Augustus Justin died and left me in charge of his Adelaide Frances home and the Johnson's home for the elderly. And we came up with a proposal that perhaps let's see if we can transform the Adelaide Frances home into a home for the artists, where people who are on the streets, artists who have no place, or renting, or taking a little nap by somebody's place, can at least have a place that is his or her home, where they are fellow artists, and they can gather together, they can celebrate, friends can come. It can become a little sort of special place, so that the artists in their senior, in the twilight of their years, can be an environment of joy, of appreciation, of celebration, know that they're cared for, they don't have to scrunt to pay the electricity bill like some of our friends are doing, or a telephone bill, or don't know when the next bill is coming. People whom the whole society have been jumping up to where, don't know where the next bread is coming. Some of us have to dig in our pockets to give them a little soulagement. No, we can do better than that. We can do better than that. We as a nation can do better than that. And this is why, although we push a lot for recognition of those who have gone before, those who have died, I think part of our maturity is to recognize those who are dying, those who are still with us, and those who are in need. And don't tell me that we have to wait until they're dead and then to say some nice words in the obituary. You know, Derek, in another life, when he saw Apilo came to visit him in Trinidad, he said, he writes, was he as broken as I had heard, driven deep in debt, unable to hold on a job, painting so badly that those who saw his genius vindicated everything once now saw it as a promise never held? Viciously, near tears, I wished him dead. Viciously, near tears, I wished him dead. That's the emotion Derek felt to see his friend Apilo struggling. A genius like himself, struggling. Viciously, near tears, I wished him dead. Friends, Robbie and Bert and I have shed very many silent tears when we remember some of our friends. We visit them, we have them. And we had this project. It's still available to house those who are in need of housing. But perhaps even if it's not a priority at this moment for our private sector or anybody else, perhaps tonight's effort by Robert is just a little trickle to begin to assist us. You know, last year, we were able to get vouchers. How many you got, Bert? We got about 20, vouchers. And we distributed to our artists in need at Christmas time. You will not believe the joy. The joy. As these, our fellow creatives, receive a little token. And this Christmas they were looking forward to something. We had nothing to give them. And nothing to give them. Hello, we can do better than that. We can do better than that. I'm saying all of that to put into context this book, Icon. It is Robert's effort and our efforts to say to society, they are there. You're not dead yet, they are there. Let us do something for them. Let's reach out in some way or another. I wish you would take that message and spread it so that perhaps not only can we give them a little token at Christmas, but perhaps eventually we may be able to give them a home where our artists, in the evening of their years, can be comfortable, can be happy, can feel appreciated, while they're alive, not after their death. Thank you.
Você meta fe passar de manhã, papa. Thank you very much, Papa, for solidifying and summarizing why we are here, to give support, our own Kudme effort towards the persons that make culture alive and vibrant as it is today. We enjoy the fruits of their labor, but we must also give support to the laborers themselves in the cultural landscape. At this time, it's my pleasure to welcome the chairman of the Folk Research Center, Ember Charles, who will do the honors of an introduction to our author, John Robert Lee, who is instrumental in this evening's celebration and presentation as well. Please help me in welcoming our chairman.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Robert, come and stand by me. Oh. You see this very polished Robert Lee, bespectacled, grey pastor. He's not always been like this. And I wanted him to stand by me so I could make sure what I'm saying is true.
Okay, check me.
Robert Lee has been through several journeys. And it's by no chance that Robert Lee understands the plight of artists. I remember the first image I saw of Robert Lee. Robert, come.
Oh boy, I'm in trouble tonight, boy. I have a lawyer there. Be careful. You said man over there.
Kenny?
That Redskin man, that's a lawyer, you know. What?
No, this man can't deal you. What I'm going to say. Robert Lee used to be a playwright and actor. And I saw this image of Robert, and I think it was in a magazine in Barbados or somewhere.
Possibly. Newspaper or something, yeah.
And this guy who was hanging from a tree. And I said, Robert, that looks like you. He said, yeah, but that's me. I was just hung, I was a soothsayer in a film. And then Robert Lee has become a pastor.
Yes, I am. I'll preach the gospel right now, so watch yourself.
Yes. But Robert has, as I said, has been through all of these journeys. So it's by no accident that Robert has decided to dedicate the proceeds of his book to the artists. And but he's not the first, and I'm sure he won't be the last. McDonald Dixon, in our midst tonight, also when he published his last book, allowed FRC to use the book to raise funds to rebuild our home at Mount Pleasant. And I think we should give him a round of applause. We should not forget Joyce Ogis, who in a will left the proceedings from the royalties from her works also to FRC. And Musa, I hope that you can leave some of the proceedings of your works to FRC as well. I have no doubt that wouldn't be a difficult thing for us to achieve. But my task tonight is to introduce the author. And I won't be very long.
Can I just step aside, please, sir?
You can step aside now.
Thank you very much, sir.
I won't be very long. We have described Robert Lee as a poet with a cause, but we don't want to box him in that description because he's more than that. Robert is an accomplished writer, an accomplished publisher, an accomplished journalist, and I think because of his journalistic orientation, broadcasting, Robert has always used his poetry to reconnect to our landscape. If you want to understand the history of Castries, read Robert Lee's works. It will take you from Castries from the fire right through the present time. And he captures it very well in some of the most telling imagery that you get of any poet. Robert is also, in recent times, has become a pastor. And some of his works have demonstrated his understanding of his mission as someone who attempts not only to save himself, but to save others. So when he embarked on this project, as Papa spoke about earlier on, Robert said that he wants to launch a big project that other organizations and other artists and other institutions, whether it's the government or the private sector, could take on. Referring, as Papa said earlier, to the initiative we had last December, and unfortunately when we went back to the same institution, the CEO said, well, sorry that his board didn't approve an allocation this year. So you see the struggle that artists go through, the expectation of getting something. And one of the things Papa didn't mention was one of the artists who was earmarked for the contribution. By the time the contribution reached him, he had passed. And we had to give it to his wife, who had to use it in the best way possible. So we don't want it to be a sad moment to reflect on every artist is in dire need, but there are those who have made a contribution, and we need to help them. We need some level of respect for our artists. And it's for this reason that we need to celebrate Robert Lee's contribution and the publication of Ikons. And I hope that every one of you would purchase a signed copy tonight. Somebody asked whether it's on Amazon. It's somewhere in Fonse, Jack. It hasn't reached the Amazon as yet. So you better buy it now. So with these few words, let me introduce my friend, my brother, Pastor, Brother Robert Lee, to the podium.
I have my band with me tonight, so you understand. Led by Charlie. First couple of poems I want to read tonight, a section called In Memoriam, hence the song Papli Webamwe. And I want to call some names, and it fits in with Musa, who really summed up so wonderfully FRC's work, and Pava, Yves Renard, and the names are in the book. Evelyn, Johnny Lee, Anita James, my cousins, and I pretty much grew up right down the road, past the steps of Anglican Church, and this is my old school building with Charlie. We went to school here. Joyce Auguste, Charles Cadet, Patricia Charles, and the others. And so let me start with about 4 poems dealing with an in memoriam theme. Thank Dame Paulette for including this 50th anniversary event, probably one of the final events, Raisa Paba, of FRC, in the Nobel Laureate Festival events. And so I think rather appropriately, first poem I want to do is something called White Cedar, in memoriam Derek Walcott. And for me, poetry reading, I often think of it like a musical concert. And tonight I'm the lead vocalist of my band, Charlie. But more, as you read, I don't really have any messages, whatever, but listen even if you don't get everything at at the beginning. You can always buy a book later. But listen for the sound, the images, the rhythm, the whatever, and just enjoy the experience. And this poem, it uses a form called the glossa, where you take 4 lines of a poet's, out of a poet's poem, and you build your own poem on those 4 lines. And so the 4 lines from Derek Walcott come from his book, The Prodigal, and they read like this, and this is Derek's words. Make room for the accommodation of the dead, their mounds that multiply by the furrowing sea, not in the torchlit catacombs of your head, but by the almond-bright, spume-blown cemetery. I thought it was over, the season of lilac carpets along verges, on green lawns, petals of paoyer stepping off currents of soft air, settling with tender ease to earth's lanes. But here they are again, in May, everywhere, with the morning bassoon of wood doves, and yes, indeed, incredibly, to me, ignorant of seasons of flora, I see the fragrant Easter lily blooming from unexpected corners of my without you days. Make room for the accommodation of the dead, you muttered, in a dark saying that seemed to mute memory, to remove yourself to needle-leaved casuarinas of Pigeon Island, out of our too familiar embrace, too smothering adulation, our burrowing eyes searching out your diaries. And the cascading cedar blossoms race the grey heron to surf-chastened ledges of Bacune Point, forlorn pool, vacant easel, and their mounds that multiply by the furrowing sea, after gentle curtsies through golden late afternoons to La Comette and Martinique and Mazouk, past delicate carvings of white cedar figurines in the sculptor's garden and other such benedictions. Meantime, autocrats of mammon desecrate your groves and beaches. They set iron beasts to holy roots of the blessed cedar with arrogant pride. They mock the memory of your protests. They will not heed angry alarms of scissor-tailed gulls, stubborn silence of drought, and we want your grey-eyed fierceness here, not in the torchlit catacombs of your head, not in tiresome fictions of some mythical you, but impossibly. Like Atlantic breakers glimpsed through bamboo or violated pralin, here now. Heraldic egrets lift your lines from Montfortune to Molachik with the awkward grace of their perfect symmetry. The flowering mauve of cedar tumbles through green fern around Soufrière. And we leave your last book, not near your beloved bent piton, but by the almond-bright, spume-blown cemetery. I'm continuing the in memoriam theme. It's called One of Us Has Died, in memoriam Gandalf Sinclair. Now these 4 poems come from a book of mine, a 2020 book of mine called Pierrot. And by the way, after you've bought Ikons first and foremost, if you want to check me for a couple of Pierrot or my last book, Belmont Portfolio, I have a little bag there, you can check me out. One of Us Has Died, in memoriam Gandalf Sinclair, good friend of mine, radio personality, playwright, poet. One of us has died. Stilt walkers, drummers and trumpeter on the big truck, straggling mourners hiding their distractions in crowding embraces of old friends coming off sidewalks, to join the funeral shuffling of heels past harborfront government offices, flag-draped city hall, wooden presbytery, to file behind the varnished casket. Lonely, singular, its weight of grieving on the aching palms of his abandoned companions. In the cathedral, self-serving eulogies will go on too long. He's beginning to fade away like the disintegrating holy Saint-Omer frescoes on which we gaze blankly. The plot of remembrance thin, not thicken. Last conversations were about what? Old quarrels were when? In what year did we go to France, read in Toronto, smoke in Kingston, and who thought he should have whatever or whenever? Until the child sobbing hits hard-fought love, and we collapse beyond ourselves, behind the leaflet, the final leaflet summary of our loss. One of us has died. And at the seaside cemetery, his friend the priest sprinkles holy rituals for the dead. Grave men maneuver the box into the family tomb. A scarved woman in shades carefully pours a palmful of petals. His mother prays till every slab is laid. The drummers chant Legba to open the gates before the lone trumpet, before our death, that one of us has died. Masquerade for Garth Santoma. And very often my poems are what called epigraphs, a few lines just before the poem begins. This comes from Derek Walcott, and Derek wrote one of his best-known poems dedicated to Garth. And there were those lines in there where he said, "You wanted no career but this sheer light, this clear, infinite, boring, paradisal sea, but never guessed you'd come to know there are homecomings without home." Much has gone, like those wooden Bedford trucks that took you down the coast, like the demolished CDC apartments and the ground floor rum shops, like the burnt-out Beaubray house top of Jeremy Street, like the implacable power of the priests, their separating funeral bells, their reserved pews, their Latin masquerades. Old parties of class have transmogrified to color-coded camps of political spite and petty vendettas. More old mask, less costume, more noise masking, more desolation. Characters don't know their own alienation in this town, posing as a city for tourist boats taller than Montpavé. But Epiphany's surprise in Castries, near Brogley and Marion, or was it Coral and St. Louis, when someone like our mothers calls our name from down those gone precocious years, from her window threshold under fret-carved fascias, or from her mango and plum tray corner, open-faced bright, eyes gracious under her hat, and blesses us with fruit and remembrances and a clear joy against all else, against all else. The photos and obituary pages still surprise us. With news they bring that so-and-so have died. Death has come to her. We are still shocked by chronicles of deaths and dying as though this was some strange event, an alien invasion from space unknown, unfamiliar, incredible, and unbelievable. Pierrot, our masquerading friend, in the sandy graveyard by the sea, at the funeral of his wayside church godmother, Miss Bertha, contemplates the hollow grave mouth, the covering coffin, her out-of-reach love, her Creole bread and yellow butter, lime squash, her painful passing from his arms awkward around her shoulders, her final, sudden open eyes and smile upon him before the rattling of the throat and last green bile. So strange all of it, he muses, sitting on a beach stone, watching seabirds dive for fish, waves eternally coming and going, a couple in the water locked together, oblivious of tourists, of the final hymns from the wreath-covered grave of Miss Bertha. So strange. So surprising, all of it. Maybe Miss Bertha sent that brown heron to settle near him, he thinks past his grief, to look at him so intently, to tell him in his eyes the apostolic mystery, that yes, death is a jab-jab invader, a Mako Jombi has to be, not after Miss Bertha's love for him, how that love can die, how it can go in a hole in Shock Cemetery. And yes, death go die one day, when resurrection morning come, when the trumpets sound, when Lord Christ come down from that beautiful crystal evening sky over Martinique, where the heron and the white seabird just gone. Miss Bertha. Let's have a love poem, still tinged with a little, the in memoriam, but this is the second section of my readings now. It's called The Return. Now, here's an epigraph from a poet I like. I think he's somewhere from the East. His name is actually Lee Young Lee. And the lines from the poem I like is, if I feel the night move to disclosures or crescendos, it's only because I'm famished for meaning. Persistent lament of wood doves, who is gone forever. Orange wafer of sun settling to horizon's eclipse, evening shuddering with unrequited affections. I would love you with ardent hunger beyond your name, your ancient eyes, sensual lips, tattoo on your left breast, the inexorable news of your dying. In this hour in which I love you, I'm a poem without a theme, without a clear image of you, a line to follow, a procession of remembrances to metaphor, no half-rhyme rhythms to match ambiguity. Going past your old house near the Baptist chapel and Chinese grocery, the blue estate wall on my left with its crimson border, trees behind it raucous with afternoon parrots, a cock under the avocado tree crowing for some epiphany, wanting a Creole love song from Philip Martelly and Cassav to make me recall your alarming hips, incomprehensible smile, perfect mouth, your various infidelities. Like the turning familiar corner into which I bend my eyes, alert for unwelcome surprises. How can I love you without you? These November days close with apocalyptic cloudbursts over darkening horizons. Who is gone forever? Wood doves lament persistently. I'm going to read you the title poem from this book called Ikons. When you buy the book, as you certainly will, we try to support our friends and artists who have some needs. But the poem was inspired by photographs that Finola Jennings Clark took of art on the prison walls of the 200-year-old prison in Castries, which was unfortunately, I'm trying to think of some other words, but I'll be careful tonight because we're on live television. Unfortunately demolished I won't say anything more about that. But she took these photographs. I liked them immediately. And this was one of the photographs. Who the artists are, we don't know. I found this very iconic. Somebody actually asked me, I showed Charlie, and somebody, was this a Lord symbol? And they showed me a ring with the Masonic thing. I said, no, man, I'm a Christian. I don't know. So Charlie, my friend, is a lodgeman, but that's okay, Charlie. But what I liked about that, Papa, and the poem you read talks about catacombs and Christian. Those of you who know, our priest present, and many of you Christians, the earliest Christian symbol from the catacombs days of persecution of the church, of the Christians, the X for Christ and the fish. And when I saw, I said, wow, this is a great iconic. I loved it. So the fish is there, the X is there for Christ, and so on. There's some other things there, which whatever the person meant who did it, I don't know. But as far as I know, it's not a Masonic thing, you know. And Charlie, in fact, will show me his ring too. Anyway, I really loved it, and I used it for the cover. Anyway, here's the poem. Tighten your seatbelts. There are a lot of stuff going on in here. Not only catacombs and Christian myths, but a lot of contemporary stuff. Icons. What am I? Who is my name? What do I say now? How to translate graffiti of hieroglyphs and petroglyphs across catacomb stones? Offer exegesis of heart prophet sayings sketched in blood red above my head. The plague slithers like mold across slave-built walls, down lime-lined interstices to find goblet or platter or complicit embrace. What lonely disciple figured his fantasies in the sacred fish, the holy X, the mark against the pestilential beast? What now about now? What time is it? Where am I? Days collapse across sundials with paranoid frenzy. Sabbaths gather without us in their distanced pews. Crowded streets protest the mad president. Monuments to hate. Tear gas and batons in our faces, knee in our necks. The pestilence is global, as are violence and corruption. Perennial trafficking in bodies and souls, the arrogance of blasted blasphemies. Loneliness deepens. Love and faithfulness are speculative fiction, imagined like some Disney fairy tale from pallets of the locked cells we are. In these last days of exile, departure at hand, I, man, hold the land of Judah high up in all itations. Whose earth is it? Why don't we see? Which word to listen? What to talk now? Who conceived grills in thick walls behind green windows to hold black men who wore the imago Dei across flaring noses and sensual lips? Who plotted their abduction and degradation from the eastern land? Who assaulted their wives and mothers beyond terrible imagination? Who gave themselves to such evil, and why? Why? Is any theory enough? Is the answer hidden in metaphysics of antiquity? Some Cain and Abel story? Of course, Black Lives Matter. Of course. Against barracoons of Gore, coffles, slave caravels, plantations, lynch mob clan, cops with their knees in our necks, cages of overcrowded prisons, doors of no return. And we raise word against black on black hatreds, corrupt black politicos, traffickers in black bodies today, and all continuing crimes on black creation. Whose human it is, whose earth it is, whose judgment word it is. Soon come dread, soon come Jah. How to hold love. Whose love is love? What is love so insistent, so urgent, so hungry? Why is love? The isolation existential, confinement solitary. Behind the 19th century brick fortress, through the narrow red window, someone strains to look someone crossing the yard below. Divine mystery will not be contained against barred flesh. Soul wants soul to union beyond any possible translation or theological exposition. That is man. We return from, we return to each other and God. And after, where? Who there? What to see? After that thick high door opened for the last parole, however you pass through, Zion for the righteous sufferer, lion, lamb, dove on throne of ivory, saints in gardens of herbs by the river of life, in light of rainbows high and lifted up, like now on the grey walls of Babylon. Yes, Charlie, Banwati Baila. How are we doing? You all right? You still want some more poetry? We going okay? All right. Buy the book when you finish, man. Georgie Poetry, how you doing, boy? That's my man there, you know. One of our top writers in the country right now, George Goddard. Give us something there. Banwati Baila. All right. That's my primary schoolmate, you know. He and I were in this same building together, you know. That Charlie there, that day, you know. Okay, I want to read you just two parts from a poem called Office Hours. It's a longer poem, but just give you, actually, just three parts for you. Everybody's still in the mood for a little poetry. We're going okay? All right. Now, my friend, my brother Anglican there, my father was Anglican, my mother was Catholic. So, you know, and I'm a Baptist pastor. Anyway, the Book of Offices, I think Anglicans still use it, Catholics use it, Methodists. For those of you who don't know, people like my friend Dixon probably don't know about that. Don't answer, don't say anything. The Book of Offices is where the clergy, and I guess non-clergy too, you have readings for the day, a bit of scripture, some readings and prayers, 6 o'clock in the morning, every 3 hours, I think. So I wrote this poem dedicated to Charles Cadet, a good friend of so many of us here, and of course an icon, Musa, Charles Cadet, icon, called Office Hours. And I use the same 6 a.m. prime, 9 a.m. terse, and so on and so forth. And I wrote this poem on that. I'm going to read you 3 parts from it. They're not long, so just bear with me. I hope you're all still okay there. But you'll see what I do with the office hours, father on father. You see what just like I did with the icons and so on, you know? Okay. I have a new book, in fact, it's already gone out to my publisher, called After Poem Psalms, where I use the Psalms, but I'm writing my own Psalms. You understand, Rasta? You there? Yeah. Are you there, Rasta? One day, whatever, so we have a lot of fun together, you know. The important is then the days when, you know, this time all over the place with Baba and all hours recording music. We know how to laugh together while we're doing serious work, so. Office hours, from office hours, okay. Okay, now seriously, I want to read you 3 parts. The first one is the 9 a.m. I won't give you all the Latin things, terse and so. 9 a.m. As you go out, take your mask. Remember to make a holy habit of distance between sanitized palms and asymptomatic dimpled cheeks. Counter, tops of tables, supermarket shelves, escalator railings with memorized beads of public service mantras, Minister of Health. Plague has turned after us, with the calendar pages of this apocalyptic decade, like some medieval demon taunting exorcists. Town seems reduced, more empty lots, shuttered stores, tattooed Babylon more pagan with blasphemies and obscenities, sidewalk chorus a litany of infidelities, neighborhood hatreds, politricks, disease of popular citizens over minivan soundtrack of hardcore dancehall chant. If your soul longs for the sacred scissor-tailed seagull, salt air, life, come out to the beachside vendor, get some peas dal, and sitting in the pew of your old car, offer grateful grace. So we pray. 12 o'clock. And when, at the middle hour, forgetful in pleasant flirtations of lunchroom banter, or snoozing off before the open document, contemplating leaving the office early, we had forgotten the ominous flags of the Reich on the autocrat's rostrum. We had mocked conspiracy theories of ghosts and voting machines and extraterrestrial pedophiles sighted in palaces and Silicon Valley mansions. When we had not taken the buffoons' narcissisms, lies, lawlessness seriously, and network news comes suddenly of insurgents in the rotunda of the Capitol, broadcasts images of massed barbarian banners, battering rams, insurrection of broken glass, military types scaling historic architecture, plus tweeted rumors of hostages zip-tied under nooses in courtyards, of Trojan horses in the highest ranks of the National Guard, and phone lines are jammed, and internet is dropping, and anxiety attacks since we don't know where those we love are, and traffic is foul-mouthed, back roads blocked with fools. When these sudden reckonings come, like all shaking alarms of the fall of bastions, public or domestic, cities or marriages, old friends, close family, beloved pop stars, may we, O Lord, enter quickly, quickly days of rogation, lifting fasting prayers against the enemy of our souls, that we may rise fast above these disasters. Hear us, O Christ, we pray. And the last one, Vespers. I think you see what I'm doing, Father Priest here? Is that where I'm cafe? Okay. I'm sure other people are checking it too. Vespers, 6 p.m. There's a quote from Auden, the old British poet whom I love, and it says, "In this hour of civil twilight, all must wear their own faces." And so the Vespers reading is, "Who walks with us through the dark tunnel of the spent day? Whose kind arm surrounds aches and pains of aging limbs? Whose gentle words lay to rest nagging worries about health, children, dwindling finances, dying? Who meets us at the hour of incense in the risen light of early evening over Emmaus? In our verandas having tea and what's left of New Year fruitcake? In late traffic jams? In a solitary jog along the beach? In the group keeping vigil beside the hospital bed and its ventilator? In dark brown benches of the empty chapel? Say holy, say sacred. As final orange light over the sea's edge comes like revelation through icons on stained glass windows, as whistling wings and moan of doves nesting under grapefruit leaves raise our eyes, hearts, and murmuring lips to the sliver moon and her companion star, and say sacramental. And so, under the first planets and benediction of cool air, so let us pray. Thank you. Office hours for Charles Cadet. Okay, let me drop something on you there, a little dread something there. It's from a poem called Watchman, which I dedicate to this man there. Poet, and well, he writes a kind of Creole there. I mean, Fish Alphonse writes one kind of Creole. This man writes a kind of literary Creole when you hear his poetry. Fine poet, George Gordon. And I dedicate this poem to George. It's a poem called Watchman. I'm just reading one part for you. It's called Chandown Babylon. The dreadlock prophet comes every day to his box under the flamboyant tree in the square by Government House, facing the cathedral, with people passing through to taxi stand and restaurants, and every day mockers give him talk. When he chant down the system, chant down Babylon, blood fire scandals, point with his shaking finger at the pride and selfishness of the busy metropolis, and he chant down meaningless religion, church and state complicity, idols of liturgical masquerade, big pomposity. What God they know? And he chant down the unspeakable corruption that everybody know about it, everybody doing, rich and poor, that he cannot even mention in public. And prophet chant down the oppression of poor like him, no job, food scarce, shack leaking in rain, boss man wicked, virus in the air, sick can't buy medicine, children don't have computer, politician door closed, and he raised his mouth against party garrisons and their barons. If you don't vote for them, crapo smoke your pipe, you suck salt, even your family don't know you. When you look, you see the good book true. Lust for dollar and cents is root of all evil, all crime in the city. Everybody have a price, everything have a cost. When you pour you like dog, this Babylon, this slave colony of Babylon, and he come out against racism in America, classism in his own island, against hatred for people who are different. And the prophets start to bawl when he see what they're doing with their garbage, to the fish with their plastic, how they cut down trees to build hotel and warehouse and more golf course. And prophet chant and he chant and he chant all the way to his little place outside the town. Okay, Charlie, give us a little music there to let the people go just now. Give us a little music. Charlie, give us a little something there, man. I don't want to bore them, but just y'all can take a little bit more. Y'all all right? Y'all still awake? Everybody okay? You good there? You okay, Dimplet? It's going okay? You all right? You absorbing it? What's up? Papa, you good? Good boy. All right. Once Papa all right, I all right. Sharon, you okay? Oh, yeah. All right. What remains to be said, written and sung? We have been to the end of history and back again. We have returned from cities of perfection, come again to narrow lanes of Belmont, sat in the King's Halls of Cambridge, rented Marchand, walked with laureates in Boston, Stockholm, Castries, climbed hills of shanties above Fort-de-France, swam in Skeets Bay, Barbados, drank over late-night fish on Baxter's Road, Bridgetown, laughed at reggae stars and Kaizo kings, strolled pagodas in Tokyo, temples in Kyoto, and prayed in simple pews of village churches. Love has left wrinkled skins of loneliness. Children gone to far countries as they must. Lovers distracted by diversions of age, and old flames rekindling dead wood. What remains to be sung? Made poetry of all those gone so quickly ours. All of it, I guess. That voyage of a life, if you are brave enough to find metaphors of the metaphysical in it, in all the messy stuff, the sacred and sacramental, in certain failures, in bird call insisting, pup saying something to a goat in the yard, compa music coming up the hill, child shrieking somewhere in a house, and so on. All of it there in your present timeline, in your hearing now. Now threading that life and its inebriated days, your weary hunger for affection, for affirmation, the shifty-eyed hope of faith, of redemption, years inevitably winding in their spiral to that moment of the epilogue of your biography. So, write it down and say it like a Kaiser Griot, like Stalin or Shadow, sing it strong, like a chanteur over shak-shak drums and violon, like Bob Marley, still wailing from passing vans over the lost cities of yards. Okay. Okay, moving on. I'm just jumping one or two things. Okay, I'm going to read for, 2 poems for you from a new manuscript I'm working on, After Poem Sounds, but some of the poems are in this. And the first poem is called Vigil, and is dedicated to George Fish-Alphonse, our good partner, our very good partner. It's called Vigil. And there's a psalm. Again, the poem is based on 4 lines of a psalm, and the psalm 2 is, why do the nations rage and the people plot a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together. Okay, let's roll. The BBC man intoned with Big Ben tolling, that metronome of grief. Queues circled in rectangular vigils about the rosemary, myrtle, and oak wreath. Families shifted under the gossiping gazing of the world gathering across streets and screens to see the back of the retreating piper shutting this Elizabethan age. Why do the nations rage? Commonwealth of the once enslaved, the massacred, boot-trampled colonies of this empire enriched by pirates, arrogant armies, hanging governors, fat bishops. Make reparation, they say to the barons. Apologize, they write to the king, to our royalty and citizens below the Atlantic, our children without memory. Our children without memory want rest. How long will Europe and their kind hate our skin? And the people plot a vain thing. They made the white man a counterfeit Christ. Whiteness, the religion and manifesto, spread the mind-destroying disease of colonialism, plundered God's rich earth and his colored peoples under the red, white, and blue of that unholy triad. But the king with hair like wool, himself, the one on the rainbow throne, just unholy, the anointed, whose promises are certain, who sees all things, against whose majesty the kings of the earth set themselves. He knows his own, the oppressed of the earth, and he will deliver in his appointed time. Even now the wand is broken. Zotiresa, crown removed, orb and scepter laid down at the feet of the Most High. Let him who have eyes see. The commonwealth starting to scatter. Let the people of Jah go out of Babylon, flee Sodom and Gomorrah, abandon Egypt. Let revelations be opened again by the prophets. And the rulers take counsel together. And this next poem, we're coming to the end now, or you'll soon be home. It's called Lament for Tikongo for Morgan Dalfinis. We call holy convocations for the feasts of months, of flute and drums, flowers rose and blue, armies of song and dance in costumed ranks coming from village halls to cathedrals to city squares, among green lawns by ocean's edges. And chantwells chant the ancient word of our story, Tikongo Asulame. We have not forgotten Kofel and Barracoon, stinking ships, the sea's hum cruel road. You shall keep them, O Lord. Exiles in Babylon town, New World citizens of America, shipwrecked islanders, survivors of many middle passages, the Tikongo Janavije, singing blues, kaizo and solo, dancing La Comète, Widovan, the solitary Kutumba, sending to the world out of every generation from these small places, minds bringing light to this civilized darkness, which you wonder if they will ever learn that under skin we are brethren. You shall preserve them from this generation forever, from self-hating, race-baiting supremacists. You shall hold them rooted in the reservoir of resilience, trotting to drum, shak and violon, in Madras and Foulard. Les petits Congo qui célébrer la fête flair, émancipation, indépendance. We are who we are. Imago Dei, children of the first peoples, enslaved Africans, and others who came to these islands to make Creole nations, pays Creole, something new in the fractured, separated world. An archipelago on parade. The wicked prowl on every side, as they have always done, seducing with dollars and resorts, turning the heads of leaders from the people's faith to idols of Babylon, gods of Mammon, golden calves, and the people forget themselves. Tikongo ka plewe pour mon Mahanaim. His younger friends' blood clot streets, discord across devices corrupting their hearts, and the ancient wisdom of the tabernacles is lost, not remembered, when violence is exalted among the sons of men. Gaza, Gaza, Gaza. For the final poems, Charlie and I have something special for you. All right. Yves Siméon. Gaza. Gaza. These are new poems not in the book. Fresh ruins of Gaza under tubers of black smoke, dead aphorisms on Western media, bodies piled both sides, barbed wire chronicles of the unquestioned holy apartheid, ovens of closed borders, camps draped in their flags, praying in broken mosques on their ancestral land, waiting for the Holocaust. The intractable fist of genocide, dissembling votes of abstention, collective punishments on babies, on old women, on men who have lost their minds, hospitals massacred into mausoleums, daily inventories of rubble over lost corpses. In Haiti and many islands, gangs hold small towns to ransom as the Bacchanal and Polytrick. And in capitals of liberal democracies, complicities make terrorists of apartheid victims, while mass killers and racist cops weaponize their discriminations and hatreds. Indicted autocrats lead polls for thrones and access to nuclear codes, protesters' names and their bodies. Gaza bodies are shot except to tanks, bombers, missiles. Holocaust smokes terribly. The West is complicit. Their leaders prevaricate. The intractable fist of genocide shrouds itself in the Star of David. Migrant. The boat of covenants we made with strangers on sand, of treacherous coves and dark, stinks like a slave caravel, and we are to be silent against groping and hunger and aching bowel, lest patrols catch us in their ears, hold us in this nowhere space of heaving black borders, this strange avenue to exile, and return us to the promised land, to the embrace of homeland camps like Gaza. Intifada. What more can be said about this occupation? This merciless collective murder of a generation of children, their grandmothers, the men. What more news to broadcast of kitchens, bedrooms, gardens, rubble reduced to graves? And what else to say about complicities by those who make terrorists and animals of hostages to colonizing apartheid declarations across those borders, shaking off brutality, slinging from the defiant, weeping, blood-shocked hands come the poets, the artists, their intifada. The final one, final part and final poem for tonight called Dirge. And the epigraph comes from Lamentations 1:12. It says, "Behold and see if there's any sorrow like my sorrow. Oh, the sad, the sorry, the sorrow, blur of grey days, grey rubble, grey dust, bewildered old women, bleeding children, bloody white shrouds, men clambering blasted, battered blocks of broken clinics, mosques, hospitals, archives, apartments, covered lost bodies, soldiers with knees in small backs of children, crooked elbows choking young throats, impossible primetime recycling, apocalyptic collective slaughter, and Eddie Bore dead, the overcast, dripping, cold, like drifting, despairing depression." Thank you very much. Charlie.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, John Robert Lee and Mama Elakai, although you said this is your band, and I believe it, because we were fortunate enough to get the icon in so many ways. The Rasta, the revolutionary, the poet, the pastor. The fact that that's a buoy of so many talents, and we are so fortunate to have John Robert Lee. A round of applause once again. We also want to recognize the presence of other icons in our midst, like George Goddard, McDonald Dixon, and Mama Elakai as well, which is a treasure to Saint Lucia. At this time, it's my pleasure to welcome once again Monsignor Patrick Anthony to make a presentation of complimentary copies of Ikons, New and Selected Poems by John Robert Lee to Mrs. Marcia Symphorium from the Saint Lucian National Commission for UNESCO. She'll be followed by Governor General Emerita, Dame Paulette Louisi, Her Excellency. Banat Hill. The Honorable Moses Musa Baptist. Musa. Mr. Costello Michel of Tiles Plus and our supporter for this evening. I know Mr. Fanes is behind the camera. I don't know if someone can collect on his behalf, but Mr. Bernard Fanes of Calabash TV will also be getting his complimentary copy of the book, Ikons. Bernard is working, but I need him to come from behind the camera so that we can see him. A round of applause for Mr. Fanis. Now, during the excerpts being read, I was a little worried. I'm saying, boy, he's going to read the entire book so much so they won't buy the book. But I know that the persons who are here got a rich treasure. Also, our viewers, Ukute Utan, we sheshkia did a live sala, ukai live, pubati, nasio, numem, epipu, baisipos pu autis, ko Charlie, mamay lakay, epi les autres qui j'ai fait gou contribution pour cette nisi. At this time, it is so important before we go to the official signing to give a brief word of thanks. I'm pleased to welcome from... You want to give some more? So we are very generous here at this book offering. We have some other special complimentary copies to give away. I'm going to invite Mr. Lee once again to come forward. You can come to share mine.
Okay, I'm there. Thank you.
Voilà pour supporter.
Merci, merci, merci. Yeah, I just want to give a few complimentary copies. This book is dedicated to two people, longtime friends and companions. I don't think I can say much more. Kenny Anthony, I'd like to give you a copy. This book is dedicated. Would you come, my friend Kenny? KDA, former Prime Minister. First place I published poetry was a little magazine called Link. And this man, edited by a Bajan man called Stanley Reid, but he was the secretary or treasurer or something in it, right?
Yep.
You were involved with Link? You was the editor too? You were the editor too?
Yep.
Okay, wow, I thought Stanley was the controlling man there. So my first poems were published in Link magazine, and so we've had a long relationship. And in 1997, I worked with him as his first director of information services, man.
Special time.
KDA. Kenny. The other person this book is dedicated to is one Paba, Vinicia Fuya. Because words cannot say any more about, I know what we could say about Mike.
Yeah.
He's actually a second cousin or something of mine, you know. Through my mother, we are related.
Yeah,
Man. That's for you, man. Have a read, man.
All right, brother.
And can you meditate on the visa offices, you know. Yeah, so these two people I dedicated the book to, and there's some in memoriam. Now, there's some artists, I know some are here, and I've saved copies for now. Finola is not here, I have her, Finola Jens Clark is not here. So I'll save a copy for her. Adrian Ogier had art in there, he's not here. Okay. Ken Scotty is not here either, right? So these are artists who contributed art to the book. So the book has art. Gary Butt is here. Come, Gary. My partner, come on. The poem I read for Morgan Dalfinis uses his art. Thank you, Gary. And I've used his art in my other book. His art is on the cover of some of my other books. So I think everybody have books for, that's it. Okay, thank you very much for being here tonight. You know, buy the book, $50, which will, because of art and everything else, and that'll help to give our needy art or something. It's a start, a small start, but it's a start. Thank you, Raisa. You're welcome, my dear. And thanks to Charlie. Thanks to my band for tonight.
That the book Icons will be available at the Folk Research Center at Barnard Hill at only $50. But $50 will make a great contribution in support of our artists and the invaluable work that they do. $50 can never pay for the work that stays with us even after our artists transition to the great beyond. So let us make this contribution because I know we can. Without further ado, it is always important to say thank you. Nous pour dire merci à pile pour chaque monde qui a fait aujourd'hui possible. And to assist us, it's my pleasure to welcome from the Folk Research Center, one of our hardworking and longest-serving staff members, Miss Ashlyn St. Martin, to give the vote of thanks. Please welcome her.
Good evening. Monsignor Father Patrick Anthony, founder of FRC, Ember Charles, chairman of the FRC, Author John Robert Lee, Raisa Joseph, executive director of the Folk Research Center, Honorable Moses Musa Jean-Baptiste, poet, musician, and minister for health, wellness, and elderly affairs. Our most valued invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. A big thank you to Mistress of Ceremonies, Miss Joseph, and so smoothly and expertly. This went a long way towards ensuring that this event was a success. I must point out deep to sense of appreciation for Mamai Lakai Folk Band for providing musical accompaniment for the readings by our most distinguished poet, Robert Lee, Mamai Lakai in his own right. Let me express sincere thanks to the chairman, Mr. Ember Charles, for introducing the writer. Thank you, Minister Jean-Baptiste, Mamai Lakai as for your timely remarks. We are confident that your support will redound to the benefit of FRC and the entire writing fraternity. John Robert Lee, you have shared with us these amazing icons, new and selected poems. Thank you very much. Thanks, Governor General Emerita Dame Paulette Louisi and the Nobel Laureate Committee for including this literary celebration in the Nobel Laureate Month program of activities. Thanks to our sponsors, the Pat Charles Foundation, Ms. Marcia Symphorium, Secretary General of the Saint Lucian National Commission for UNESCO, Constello Michel, Evarista Jamari, Calabash TV, and NTN for live streaming the event. The Anglican Church, especially Cecil Charles and Adolphus Small, for allowing us to use this wonderful annex, and also the FRC for collaborating in this important event. An event like this requires planning and a bird's eye for details. Thank you for those of you who were involved in the actual organization of the event. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for being with us this evening. It has been a great pleasure. Thank you very much.
And I must say thank you, Ashlyn, very much for those comprehensive remarks. It is now our pleasure to have the book signing and sales. The persons at home, don't be jealous, as I said before. Vini boy FRC usage livu aussi, $2, only $50. With all this richness, Gaza was not in this one, but you can imagine that Gaza is in this poem right now. We have to fight for justice, right? This has always been a revolutionary organization and will continue to be. Thank you once again for viewing. To our television audience and also to those via social media. Merci appeal pour temps, pour support, continuer pour support développement kilti aset ici. Charlie, si vous voulez, ça joue à bagay ba yo.